Hello and welcome to the F1 show with me, Hugh Hatrick, your weekly dose of F1 news to fill that gap when there's not a race on, or if there has been a race, you can find out the results and the main talking points of the Grand Prix season. So it's great to have you along board, and let's get started. Now, the big story of the day is that Max Verstappen is seriously considering walking away from Formula One at the end of this season due to his strong dissatisfaction with the new regulations and, of course, the cars introduced this year. Now, in the last race in Japan, he finished 8th, and that's his worst start to the season in years. And Verstappen told the BBC that he's questioning if it's actually worth it, saying he's not enjoying the sport and is thinking about spending more time at home with his family, and he confirmed he's seriously weighing his future, including potentially retiring or just taking a sabbatical. Now, his main issues are, of course, with these 2026 rules, the smaller, lighter cars with a near 50-50 split between combustion engine and battery power. He has long expressed concerns about these, and in early races he validated his predictions of underwhelming racing. It'd be very interesting to get your comments, so please, who's going to be the first person to comment on Podbean for the show? That would be fantastic. Now, Verstappen is in a contract with Red Bull till 2028, but he does have an exit clause. It was added a few years ago because he was actually concerned about the 2026 regulations well into their induction before it started. So he's similarly allowed to leave if he's not in the top 2 in the championship by the summer break. Now, he's currently well down the order, around 9th, and is 50 plus points off the top. So he can potentially activate this around August to October. But people like Martin Brundle doubt he'll actually quit. If Red Bull could give him a competitive car, but many reports treat his comments as genuine. But Red Bull is already linked with targets like Charles Leclerc as a potential replacement. Do you think that Verstappen will leave? I know there has been some comments. In fact, I think it was Eddie Irvine said there's 50 million reasons for him to stay, being 50 million pounds a year, potentially that he might actually be earning on his salary, which I think is probably quite a big influence on whether he stays or whether he goes. But I was listening to one of the podcasts with David Coulthard last week, and he was saying that there's so many things that the FIA are having to discuss over the next 4 weeks. And they did actually hint that maybe, just maybe, they might have to do a pretty wild change and go back to V8 or V10 engines. And I thought, surely that's a bit far away, but wouldn't it be something if they did? Because I think ultimately, as Formula One fans, we just love the V8 and the V10 era, the best sound. I think Formula One is definitely missing the show, and the sound is a huge part of that. So now we are, of course, in the middle of this 5-week break. The next race is going to be Miami. And the good news is that Martin Brundle will be back at Miami. He's had to miss a few races. He was supposed to be, I think, in Japan. Oh, no, he was missing Japan, but I think he was going to be in Saudi Arabia and Bahrain. But of course, they were cancelled. But it'll be good to see him back because we do like Martin Brundle. I think he's an excellent commentator. So as we're waiting, the 2026 rules are under review with the FIA officials, with teams and manufacturers are going to meet to discuss what can they actually do. Now, some people have suggested they might be able to turn the battery power down a bit, because at the moment it's near 50-50. And if they do that, it will slow the cars down a bit, but it will give them maybe a more genuine performance, and it will actually allow them to avoid the kind of accidents that Oliver Bearman had and still have, a decent race car. But normally, Formula 2 is only about maybe 8 to 11 seconds slower than Formula 1. Now, David Coulthard was saying that could really drastically reduce if they drop the battery power. So if anyone's an engineer out there and would like to put their point of view, then it would be good to hear from you, because I'm not an engineer, but I'd love to see what kind of difference that might make, and what kind of time difference do you think the Formula 1 cars would have if they had to cut the battery power. See, I have to say, I quite like the engines that they had last year. I mean, I know they were not ideal as an F1 fan, but I did think they had improved them quite a bit. And I quite liked the sound. I was kind of getting used to the sound. And I liked the fact that they were kind of flat out, and they were a bit louder than they had been. So I thought that, maybe it's not bad. For where they are, it's not too bad. This year, there's no doubt about it. When you see them on the streets and the revs are dying, they're going down, and you think, goodness, that's a bit strange. It just doesn't look or feel that great. So we'll have to see how things go. But let's get on to the next headline. Now, there's been quite an interesting headline because the new Spanish Grand Prix, which was at Barcelona last year, has been, of course, replaced, and it's going to be in Madrid. And they're calling it the new Madrid circuit, which is the IFEMA Madrid. Is progressing, according to the FIA, on schedule for its debut as the host of the Spanish Grand Prix on the 11th to the 13th of September. It replaces Barcelona as the main Spanish round, and it's got a 10-year contract that was signed in 2024. It's going to be 5.4 kilometres long and mostly purpose-built with some street sections. And it's going to be around the IFEMA Exhibition Centre near Barajas Airport. And it features 22 corners and is designed for a 1:32 qualifying lap, according to Motorsport. Now, they are laying the asphalt as we speak, but there were some pictures taken that didn't show an awful lot of progress. In fact, there was a bit of track, lots of dust, lots of desert, and not much else. And this has kind of made people think, actually, is this going to be a bit, ready on time? They've got less than 6 months. In fact, really, they've just got just under 5 months to go before the race is started. Yeah, I kind of wonder because actually, Barcelona has served up some pretty good races over the last few years. And why would they change it? And are these new circuits like the one they have in Madrid? Let's hope that it is actually ready. Otherwise, there's going to be another race on the calendar that's going to have to be suspended and replaced or just simply cancelled. Now, I thought in finishing for this week's podcast, and we'll be back next week with Liam. I know many of you enjoyed Liam's contribution. He's a great GT7 racer and sim driver. And I think his views on F1 were really, really up there. Very much a kind of engineering kind of attitude as well as how he knows a lot about how the engines perform. And it was great to have his thoughts. And he'll be back with us again, hopefully next week, and for many of our future shows, as well as, of course, Rue and Simon when we do our live shows on YouTube. But I thought I would finish with a quote from one of the most probably inspiring F1 drivers, because when I was searching through my files, I remembered I had the book of Ayrton Senna's Principles of Race Driving. Now, I bought this back in 1995, a year after the tragic loss of Ayrton Senna, but I thought I would give you some little excerpts from it, because it is a brilliant book. And what he says about F1, and maybe if you're a sim racer, or if you're a motorsport enthusiast, and maybe you do track days, perhaps it might be a bit of an aid. So let's get on with the first quote for you. Breathing is the secret of success in motor racing. To breathe steadily and not in gulps is an indication of calm and self-control. When a driver controls his breathing, he controls himself, keeping his emotions in check and maintaining clarity. By breathing steadily and calmly, you can also keep the pulse rate down. Just before the light goes green at the start, drivers have been measured at 190 beats per minute. This is not the result of physical exertion, but of emotion. The mastery of breathing techniques can reduce the pulse rate at the start to just 75 to 80 beats per minute. From the late, great Ayrton Senna and his wonderful book, The Principles of Race Driving. If you can get yourself a copy, it's definitely a great read. And I'll do more quotes next week as we find more things to say and to quote from the best drivers in the world. Now, here's some funny Formula One news from back in 1997. The McLaren team launches the 1997 car with the Spice Girls. So to hype up their new Silver West sponsored car, McLaren brought in the Spice Girls for the launch event. It was regarded as peak 90s absurdity. But here's a question for you. Which member of the Spice Girls went on to marry Red Bull boss Christian Horner? I'll let you think about that one. And of course, another one was mechanic Paul West tested a movable Ferrari wing back in 1997. During the post-park Fermi, Paul, who was working for Williams, was asked by Benetton guys to push on Ferrari's front wing to check if it was illegally flexible. He did it right in front of the Ferrari mechanics, it led to a massive row and a new rule. No more random mechanics poking rivals' cars in Park Ferme. Here's another quick one from Nicky Lauda. He once pulled into the pits and quit a race because the conditions were too dangerous, saying, "My life is worth more than 2 points." And drivers sharing pole times, diamonds getting wrecked in crashes, or random animals invading tracks, modern gems like drivers napping in press conferences, and also chaotic radio meltdowns. So let's see. What would you like to hear in the next few weeks from Formula One? Will you be up for a new engine regulation? Do you want to see the batteries being turned down? Or do you want to go back to the V8s or the V10s? Let us know in the comments. And you've been watching the F1 show. We hope that the news this week has been of interest. Please add a like and subscribe. And if you know of other F1 fans who you think would like the show, then let them know. And we'll see you very soon. Drive fast, don't crash, and we'll be back. Bye just now.